Hello and welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and today I have the September 2023 Paletteful Packs here right in front of me. So let's go ahead, open it up and see what's inside. Aw, yellow! Cute little sticker with a puppy on it. Super cute. And then we have a pencil sharpener. So I'm guessing there are some pencils in this box. This is by Lyra. Then we have this set of Stabilo Carbothello chalk pastel pencils. This is a set of 12. There's a bunch of different colors in here. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look inside. Ooh, look at all these colors. Look at this pretty rainbow. I'm so excited to play around with these. These look beautiful. Then we have some blending stumps in here so that we can blend things out and make them nice and smooth. We also have a little sandpaper sharpener as well for sharpening things. And then there's also a nice like peach color Carbothello pencil as well. So we get this extra color as well. And then finally in here, I'm seeing the surface. So this is the Legion Lenox Cotton. There are 15 sheets. They're 250 GSM. It's 9 by 12 inches. Good acid-free paper, and it's 100% cotton. So gorgeous paper. Can't wait to use these beautiful pastel pencils on this paper. All right, so this is everything you're going to get in the 2023 Paletteful Premier Pack for September. We have the 12 set of the Carbothello pastel pencils. We also have the singular Carbothello pastel pencil in this light peach color. We have our pencil sharpener, our sandpaper sharpener, and our blending stumps. And then we also have our 100% cotton paper surface. So I'm really excited to play around with these. So let's go ahead and make some art. All right, so I decided to do sort of an abstract landscape. So I started with 2 scribbles to kind of give me something to work with. And then I started filling in the scribbles to create some hills. This was vaguely inspired by the idea of Italy through a train window, just kind of inspired from my own travels through Italy because I'm going back there again soon. So I'm very excited. So I just kind of wanted to create this abstract, but like representational illustration, and hopefully I achieved that. So the way that I did this was I started by laying out all of the base colors, and then I blended everything together using these blending stumps, and I just kind of alternated between using one end and the other end. So like I used this end for the darker colors, and then I switched it around and used the cleaner end for the lighter colors of the sky, just so I didn't muddy everything up. And I'm not worrying too much about getting perfect blending here because I'm going to be layering on top of it a lot. Once I have all of that set out, I start adding in some shapes, and I want to add in something that kind of imitates cypress trees. So I added in these loose shapes, and then I started going in, just being really heavy with certain colors, adding things in where I felt like I wanted to add them in. There was no real rhyme or reason to the way that this painting developed. I would work on something and then I would jump back in and add something else. So I'm kind of all over the place, but you can see how well these pencils layer up on top of each other. I'm adding in some kind of loose house shapes, and you can see how opaque that red goes on top of that blue that we'd already laid down. I'm also using a little bit of this peach color to add in some highlights to where this kind of like city area is, and that's going to help establish some three-dimensionality without me creating this like actual perspective, because I didn't want to do actual perspective. I wanted it to have this sort of abstract, very impressionistic feel. So that wasn't something that I was worried about, but I did want to create the idea of depth and light. Then in front of it, I wanted some more kind of cypress trees, so I really loosely drew them in, and then I started scribbling inside them to create texture. I scribbled inside with the green, and then I also scribbled inside with the blue just to create this kind of texture underneath everything. And then I went back in on top with the yellow and filled the whole thing in, and this kind of blended that out and created this kind of interesting texture that I thought worked well for kind of an abstract leafy texture. And then I used the darker red brown to add in some branches and the trunks of the trees, and used the dark blue to add in a little bit of shading. So I am drawing representationally. There are like representative things in here, the trees and things like that, but I'm not worrying about perspective. I'm not worrying about certain lines, you know, like having a finish or an at an end. I'm not worrying about things looking neat, if that makes sense. I'm trying to keep everything very loose, very impressionistic, like a memory from a dream. I want to increase the contrast, so I'm going in with the black and the dark brown and creating this dark shadow behind these trees up in the front, and then blending that into the rest of the green using these very like thick kind of strokes. And I'm trying to be very bold with my mark making here. Then I'm going in and smudging out using the blending stump and just kind of blending in those areas of color that I just put in. I'm trying to intentionally use the blending stump so that in some areas I'm creating a softer look and in other areas I'm creating a harsher look. So there's some areas that I won't blend out and that I'll leave the pencil strokes, and other areas that I'll blend out and soften so that they're a lot more smudged out. And that will create this nice contrast, having some of these hazy areas and then having some of these sharper areas. I added in some detail to the kind of rock that has been established behind. This kind of started looking like a rock type cliff. That's the word I'm looking for, cliff situation. And then at this point, I thought it was a cliff overlooking water, so I drew a lighthouse. And that's kind of where I left things overnight, came back the next day and started building things up more. And this is where I was like, nope, I actually don't think this is the ocean, because then there's a town right there and that doesn't make sense. So I went back to this being a field, which was part of the original plan, was for this to be a field. And decided to just add in a bunch of little trees and things like that, just kind of in the distance, little suggestions of things. So as you can see, this landscape was really evolving as I was working on it. Like, I never fully knew where I was going next. I'm also adding just a little bit of shading underneath some of these trees just to kind of ground them in the landscape. And then going back in and working on the sky a little bit more. So I'm trying to establish some cloud shapes, and I'm going in with the darkest blue first to add in some shadows, and then I'll move to the medium blue and blend those out a little bit more, add in a little bit more shadowing with the medium blue, and then I'll go in with the absolute lightest blue that I have and blend all of that out as much as I can and blend into the cloud shapes to smooth out that sky and create this dynamic, interesting kind of sky. And in terms of cloud shapes, like, I just kind of let them develop naturally. I don't worry too much about like trying to draw a specific cloud shape. I just kind of let it develop naturally. That would be my recommendation. And then I smudge the whole thing out so that we have this nice soft sky. Once I smudged it out, I went in with the white to really, really blend everything out and to pop the whites in the clouds and to add in some little wispy bits to the clouds as well. And I think this really helped. Then, because it wasn't overlooking the ocean anymore, I decided that this should be a little town instead of a lighthouse. So I added in some more little buildings around it. And then I wanted to add in some flowers in the corner to kind of add some interest to this corner and just add a little bit more interest to the fields. And I thought it would be nice to have some red in this bottom right corner because there's so much red in the kind of village in the left corner. So I added in all these little like kind of poppy flowers, and then added in a few little patches of them in the background as well, just so that it looked a little cohesive. And then added in some suggestions of some little stems and things like that with the dark brown. And these pencils are great because you can really, as you've seen, cover a large area, but also get these really fine little details. So you can do like an entire piece like this with just the pencils. I felt like things needed to pop a little bit more, so I went in with the yellow and started adding some highlights onto the edges of the trees and the ground and things like that. But then I felt like everything was pretty yellow, but the sky wasn't, so I started adding yellow into the sky. Once I started adding yellow into the sky, then I needed to start adding like orange and peach and all of these other kind of sunny colors because it didn't work if you just added in yellow. So then the whole sky started to transform, and as I transformed the sky, I realized that this back area kind of looked like water, so I decided to turn it into water. So now there is water is back. We have water again. And then I continued to blend in the sky. So with this kind of project, just don't be afraid to let things transform and let things change. And this is why I started with a scribble, because it kind of gave me this overall thing that I could follow, but I'm not overthinking things. So I think I don't know. I think it developed really interestingly. Then I went in and added some final shadows with the dark blue just to really ground everything and make sure that I'm kind of like getting the idea of this light touching things, because I think that's a really important part of the piece, is like just this little bit of light that's coming through. And then I signed it and I was done. When I peeled off the tape, I hadn't applied the tape very well, so it did rip the paper, so I just chopped off the edges, and that is my finished piece. I really enjoyed working on this. I hope this video helped you figure out some good ways to use your pastel pencils. And if you would like to join us, then don't forget to click the link in the description box below. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!